Back again. Right off the bat, I guess there's been some interesting developments in the last week or so, and I just want to say, I mean, I don't sweat the daily swings of Ethereum or Bitcoin. I mean, it's kind of the nature of this space, unfortunately. As far as one comment saying, a lot of people put up a donation address for Ethereum or Bitcoin or any myriad of coins. One, I mean, I'd feel I'd need to up the quality of my content, and if you're in the mood to part with some ether for a good cause, I mean, try to give it to somebody that doesn't know what it is. I think this little crash scenario, or whatever you want to call what happened last week, I think it just shows, again, that, I mean, globally speaking, these are still small markets, and if we want stability, we need to get more people in, and I know the people that know what these are, we just want to hold on and just hoard them forever. But I mean, a little bit of expenditure to get someone new into the field goes a long way. And I mean, yeah, if you can give a little piece to somebody that's not already involved, or somehow get somebody to set up a wallet or something, I mean, once someone has ownership, a little investment goes a long way. As far as this flash crash, however, I mean, whatever. I mean, obviously, minor corrections need to happen a little bit. I heard, like, South Korea was really buying up a lot or something. I mean, does it have to be a bubble, or does it have to correct? That's where I don't know that it does any given time. I just think we're too early in the adoption process to have it really take off sustainably and just keep rising for a long time. I think as far as like the caps on these coins, I mean, they get more and more globally adopted every day. So I mean, as far as that answer, or again applying traditional modes of assessment to these things, it's like, wow, they just went 3,000% in a month. That's unsustainable. It's like, well, the initial influx of capital has not even begun yet. So, I mean, once, if that happens overnight at some day in the future or something, I mean, yeah, something like that would happen, and it wouldn't be a bubble. In the short term, yeah, right now I think we're a little early for that kind of event by far. But if you want to call this a bubble or a correction or whatever, I mean, a new high is always topped in the relatively near future. So, I mean, again, it's not like it's going down to $10 per ether or 1,000 per Bitcoin or something. I mean, they're here to stay. They're already rebounding. I mean, give it a couple weeks to a month or something, and we'll be hitting new highs again. I thought, I mean, the rumor of Vitalik's death was kind of a weird stroke. I thought, in a way, I mean, I'm sure it sucked for a lot of people, but I mean, that was kind of weird. Anarchic move there, but, whatever, the market did whatever. For, like, new people coming into the space, I mean, I hope you didn't get burned right there. I mean, I know that's a concern of mine too, especially with Bitcoin at times when it was really volatile. I mean, you could buy in and then really get burned, and I mean, if you're new to the space, you're probably going to panic and sell it off, and then somebody else just made money off you, and then you're pissed. I hope that didn't happen, but I'm sure some people got stuck with the bill, but only because you sold it to them lower than you bought it for. I mean, just hang on to it. Don't panic sell. And as far as, like, crashes, too, I mean, what do you think the market's going to do, like, once we get to fork time with Ethereum? I mean, like, even if it goes perfectly, there's going to be some panic, or there's going to be some rumor of a bug or something. I mean, these events are going to happen. Just don't lose your head and sell everything you've got. I mean, just hang on to it. Yeah. And, it's a free market, too. I mean, they all got swooped up when they hit a certain floor level. I mean, it's maybe rebounding as we speak. I mean, maybe if you look and like, well, it's a head and shoulders, and it can still go down quite a bit. It's like, maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I don't know. It seems to have definitely rebounded above the 220 mark. Again, maybe we still have a shoulder to go down or something. Again, I don't really care. I'm not interested in selling. I have not sold any Ether ever, actually, and I have no interest in doing so. On CoinDesk, there was a good article, and some guy made a pretty good comment point when he said, like, the difficulty in manipulating cryptos compared to fiat, but, I mean, somebody who let go of a lot of them very cheaply. And, I mean, if he was selling some at 10 cents, I mean, you can't just swoop them back up. They're not clonable. So, I mean, he definitely, whoever did that massive dump, again, go anarchy or something, and you made a point for a day, but, I mean, that dude lost a lot of money. And, you know, a lot of other people, I mean, sure, if you got lucky, great. Some people got screwed. I mean, don't play with fire if you've got those stop-loss orders or something. I mean, somebody was saying on there they had like a stop-loss order at $78 per Ether, and like it unloaded all its Ether during that. It's like, that's not how I play the game. I mean, I guess if that's how you do it, again, in these very same circles that say libertarian free market, let's have a go at it, then the next day the same people are, I lost everything. It's like, well, you know, that, again, how you play the game, whatever. And as far as someone dumping all that Ethereum to instantly crash on GDAX or whatever, I mean, good. Some whale just got liquidated and dispersed to 1,000+ different buyers now. It's like that person can't do that again. Someone else could. But again, I mean, I think overall it just shows like more people need to be in the market, and the depth of market needs to improve. I mean, if the same person had done the same thing in the treasury bond market, like nothing would have happened, because there's trillions of dollars just sloshing around in there, and, you know, it wouldn't do anything. It's only because globally nobody's even heard of cryptos, let alone like putting money into them. I mean, it's a burgeoning little field. And also, I mean, I think scaling needs to get on track across the board. If there were some kind of financial meltdown, like no crypto has the ability to handle like billions of frantic transactions within hours. It's like it would just be backlogged, and again, we'll see how Ethereum and the sharding or the SegWit coming out with Bitcoin now, but I mean, even so, I mean, if you want a global scale, like the frequent comparisons are to like Visa or something that's like hundreds of thousands of transactions a second they handle. It's like, sure, let's solve it. I mean, that needs to be solved, in my opinion. And then, too, you know, like I've said, don't cash out. That's stupid. If you're a speculator and that's how you play it, fine, if you're making money. But to me, the whole point is to have the currency of the future. It's like, hey, it's like maybe I've got 20 bucks in my wallet right now. I can cash out for a load of denarius and francs and marks. And it's like, wait a minute, they're not worth anything. And, you know, they're collector's pieces or something. It's like they're not worth what they used to be. It's like, yeah, it's like I could cash out my dollar right now for like some polished shells or something. It's like, it's exchanging for a new currency, and cryptos are new currencies, and the exchange rate is more than $1 or a pound or a euro or yen or yuan or whatever. I mean, why trade what's becoming the new currency if you can afford to just kind of slowly amass them for the future? And I mean, the exchange rate, just look at it. I mean, Bitcoin and Ether have been more than 1-to-1 to the dollar for a long time. And I mean, it just shows as a one unit thing. I mean, they're already like the strongest currencies the world's ever seen. And I don't think they show any sign of going severely backwards to becoming weaker as a global currency. To the point of like every currency has a lifespan or something, so even these will outdate. I mean, sure, yeah, in 100 years, yeah, we might be onto something else, like virtual hologram and your retinal chip or something currency that you don't even have to, whatever. But I mean, to say something like that, which I've seen, is, well, if the currencies today are getting outdated, well, these will be outdated too. It's like, yeah, sure, but I mean, that's just kind of ignorant and defeatist, and I mean, ignoring that these are coming into their own right now. It's like, I think we're entering the age of the cryptos here, and they're a great hedge or escape, if you want to look at it that way, for now. I mean, gold has its issues too. Something that's not gold has issues. I mean, if you want to get into like target currency zones or optimal trading zones, and I mean, nations can devalue a currency relative to each other. I mean, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. I mean, if a nation does devalue its own currency, I mean, it's a way of cutting real wages to just bypass the psychological, like, instead of getting a lower number on your paycheck, your real purchasing power goes down, and countries can just essentially put their exports on sale to the rest of the world. So I mean, there's the argument of like a global single deflationary currency. I mean, like, maybe that's what it felt like to be a serf in England or Germany in the Middle Ages or something. It's like, if the lords have the money and they don't want to part with the money, you have no money. But I mean, again, I think that's so far out there, and it's just a thought. I mean, to think about kind of in hypotheticals or fantastical situations or something. But as of now, I think they're a pretty good draw. Then I've heard too, some people are like, after a crash or something, it's like, what if the internet goes down? It's like, one, I don't think the internet globally is going to go down, and if that scenario actually happened, like we nuked the world or something, then it's just ridiculous, and then you've got bigger concerns about where your Bitcoin went, and that's just stupid. But I mean, in the real near future, if you've seen like the Worldview, like global satellite network, I mean, like, that's supposed to be up and running in a couple of years, like hundreds of satellites in space, just perpetually keeping anywhere you are in the globe available for internet. I mean, it's like, once that is up to augment any potential internet outages, I mean, as long as there's a power generator, or you've got a solar panel or a hand crank or something, I mean, then you have an unimpeded constant flow of internet access all the time in space. So I mean, then you can start seriously thinking about like blockchaining like flight data or medical data or transit planning, and like all this insane crap can just have like an endless stream. I mean, like, I think that kind of idea is cool, and I don't think that's that far away. And like, a really big draw to cryptos to me that other people have said many, many times is, I mean, you own it. I mean, like, is your money or not your money? I mean, is the value and fruits of your labor like yours or not yours? Like with cryptos, you own it. Like, it is your personal financial property. Like, I think that's really cool. I think that's like the simplest thing about them, pretty much. But it's also like one of the strongest, coolest things to me. It's like, you own it. It's yours. It's like that. I think that's cool. And then, I mean, you get a chance to totally manage your own finances, and then you can choose, you know, I'm sure we'll see, like, banking industry, when they get into cryptos more, I'm sure they'll do the same things they've always done, because again, as far as like the disruption, or it's like, well, this is, now everybody can have a bank. It's like, well, is everybody really responsible enough to manage their own cryptos, or will somebody be drunk and mistype something and blast their life savings into space or something? I mean, the nature of people is, I mean, you can say, it's like, now you can get an unhackable better than a bank account on your hardware wallet. Now it's all yours. And then people will be like, wow, you know what I want to do immediately? Run to a warehouse where some guy will take care of this for me and I don't have to think about it. So, like, in a way, I think cryptos are just a new way of playing the same game. I mean, they're still money, they're still the same abstract idea that is gold or shells or whatever you want to use. But now you have the option. I mean, if you want to just totally secure them yourself, you've got it. If you want to play the same banking game, you've got that option too. But either way, I think you're more in control of your own business if you want to be, and there's no threat of just evaporation. It's like the market, again, could choose to make them seriously devalued or value less. But I mean, that will be a market decision, not a government or banking decision. So it's achieving stability right now, but it's still in the process of exchanging the old currencies for the new ones. The new currencies are in the process of getting distributed. The current exchange rate right now is, I think it's 25 to 2,600 per one for choice A, and it's about $300 per one as of this video for choice B, which would be Bitcoin and Ethereum that I'm talking about, and that's why it's called an exchange rate. I mean, that's why it's called an exchange. You're putting one kind of money in and you're getting a different kind out. And a lot of people globally are willing to exchange their dollars, rubles, won, euro, yen, yuan, whatever, to get these new currencies. And that's like a slow and steady process marching into the future. And I think, too, a lot of people buying them now, I mean, one, yeah, there's a lot of just speculators or whatever, but I mean, I think a lot of people are buying them and holding them. And whether you're an economist or just have some intuitive sense or something, like economics is what matters. Like for people that laugh off, like math, you're a fool, like starving your own future children or people or whatever. I mean, I get being like overworked and financially depleted and unable to like study textbooks in your leisure time. It's like, I get that too. I mean, it's hard to go about like educating yourself when you're tired and you need to pay bills and you need to eat and crap. But I mean, just don't have an anti-information attitude. I mean, that just helps nothing and it hurts a lot. But I mean, if you look at the history of economics, like that's not conspiracy or craziness. I mean, it's just economic history that people brush off as boring and then dismiss as crazy. But I mean, everything is money and banking related since like forever. Recent examples would be like, take like Clinton. I mean, he wasn't in charge of creating the internet in Silicon Valley and the ability of the average citizen to just start investing in the stock market, but he still gets credit. It's like, oh, he had a surplus. Or like, even when people don't even know what that means, really, you know, or Reagan, like after the stagflation of the 70s, and it's like the history books show like black and white lines of like people lining up at like gas stations during the shortage, and the vaguely menacing like OPEX was formed, is invoked, that like people don't fully get what's going on there, and then Reagan comes in and saves the day and he's pro-business, and Reagan broke the unions and he deregulated Wall Street, but damn, investments really did good under Reagan. It's like, no, Paul Volcker at the Fed like grew some vicious balls and jacked up interest rates, causing debtors to like suffer horribly and farmers to commit suicide en masse. But I mean, he fixed the Fed-induced problem like du jour at the time, and Reagan gets the credit. I mean, it's like Winston in 1984 asking the old guy if life was better or worse 60 years ago, and the old guy is like, top hats, and we drank pints, not liters. And like, he doesn't remember anything worth a damn because he never knew anything worth a damn. And I mean, it's arguable the Fed and France, it's like while they were saying they were on the gold standard, like both countries simultaneously like started hoarding gold and not letting it flow properly and artificially messing with the mechanism. I mean, that's pretty much accepted as a big cause of the Great Depression. And I mean, it's pretty much universally accepted. I mean, even like Bernanke himself like said at a speech, I mean, the Fed did like everything wrong after that crash. Like if you look at real current history, and again, apolitical here, I'm just saying from an economic point of view, I mean, like, I think the Trump election is a reaction in part to no improvements for the last 8 years, which are bigger than Democrat or Republican issues and even longer than 8 years. I mean, no matter how the numbers are skewed around, unemployment and underemployment are horrible. It's like now we're counting like underemployed and people that have just dropped off the rosters. It's like, in my opinion, we never came out of 2008, like that crisis. It's like we just kind of covered it up. And I think I said in a past video, it's like, do you really think, like, our glorious wise people in the high institutions, it's like, you think they solved it? They solved everything? It's like, I don't really think so. I mean, inflation's still going up. Wages have been stagnant for a long time. It's like everybody that I see is like strapped for cash, like unless you're not looking. It's like people are in a real shitty situation right now. And we just keep saying like everything's getting better. It's better. See? I mean, look around. It's like I kind of see malaise, and I see economists all over kind of like united and like nodding worriedly. I mean, like, I don't know what other sources you look at, but, like, I've seen the term, like, frothy market, like, a lot right now, which just means, I mean, like, it's tuckering out. I mean, think of the bull charging up the hill, and once it's at the top of the hill, he's frothing at the mouth, and there's only one place to go from there. You know, it's like we've been in a very volatile financial system for, like, 10 years now. And the only seeming prospect is like worse before better. Again, I just say, like, I'm not crazy conspiracy theorist here or something, but I mean, just don't reject information and don't take the shortcut of blaming politicians, whoever they may be. It's like the unelected technocrats are in charge of the machine that runs the world, and like that machine's running off the rails. And unfortunately, up to this point in history, it's like, I think they probably are the best humans for it. It's like, or not, or flipping a coin like FDR would do, and then he'd call the price of gold that day or pick a lucky number. But, I mean, imagine if we did elect Fed people. It's like, oh God. It's like, that'd be even, like, if you could vote them out if they didn't print more money or something, it's like, that would be even worse. And now, I mean, they can't raise interest rates like Volcker did, which Reagan got the credit for. And again, that had seriously deleterious effects. But, I mean, that was the result of a banker, not a politician. But, like, we can't raise the rates now because now, unlike in the 60s, we're a lot more trillions of dollars in debt. And even the central planners know the system would blow up if you did that. It's like adding more money is the only strategy they really have left. And there is some quote too, because I don't like getting frenetically panicked or something about, the sky is falling. No, but there, you know, there's some quote to the effect of like, don't underestimate how long an unsustainable system can keep limping on. And if you look at the national debt levels, I mean, really, there could be another 30 years of trillion-dollar deficits that could happen before we get as bad as some of the country's GDP, like debt-to-GDP ratios right now. But again, you know, in theory, I mean, I think of it as like a volcano. Like, it could have gone off years ago, it could go off today or tomorrow, it could go off in 1,000 years. Who knows? But, I mean, if there were a sudden dumping of treasury bonds, or if China and Japan just quit buying treasury bonds one day, I mean, the market would just, like, feel a shock, and, like, everybody would get wide-eyed and realize, like, the music's winding down. And our relationship with China is really weird, and I'm not really going to go into that, but, I mean, it is codependent, and their central, like, coordinating bank, I mean, the money they make, instead of putting into like infrastructure they need, they put it back into US bonds and like give our money back to us in a weird sort of system. And it's like, they should be developing and we should be saving given where our countries are at. And it's like flipped. And I mean, who knows? Again, it's just not a sustainable relationship. But I mean, this is a long tangent, but all of this is basically, if you can kind of see where my thought process is going, in support of the cryptos, of like getting out of some of these vicious cycles and toxic policies and assets. It's like, I mean, some does need to be spent to speed up the adoption process. I mean, if a local business right now accepted like Ethereum as payment, like, I would exclusively use that service or buy that thing or whatever was done there whenever I needed that product. Like, that's where I'd go 100%. It's like, even though I would be thinking, like, I think Ethereum's going to go up. But, I mean, as part of the adoption process, I think, you know, if we get it in circulation, I mean, that's a big thing. Like, start trying to pay people with it, use it. Don't just, like, get it and sit on it. Because it's like, yeah, money in circulation does more than money being sat on that's not being used to facilitate economic activity, and that's the point of money. It's like when you think of money, we're already kind of breaking down, which is a bad sign, I think, for global currencies, as we're becoming fixated on, like, the currency itself. That shouldn't be. Like, money should be in the background because that facilitates the real economic activity, which is my labor made a pair of boots that I trade for a crop to eat. It's like, that's the point of the currency, is to facilitate that trade so we don't actually have to measure grains of wheat and grams of boot leather and crap. So the money should facilitate the trade. So the money has to be moving around there to get more people engaged and use it as, you know, the means of conducting the real economic, what matters. I'm going to put some links to some videos by Peter Schiff, which I know it's hard to reference anybody without having some opinions thrown out there, but I will take some information from anywhere, and yeah, I mean, he's employed by a gold company for a gold company, and he's a gold bug, and gold comforts his mind, and he doesn't really seem to get cryptos because, you know, a physical brick of gold comforts him for people that want money to be a physical thing. But I mean, it's still just as much of an abstraction as feathers or shells or paper money or Bitcoin. Gold has a long and storied track record with humanity, so I mean, it will probably always be worth something. But really, money is just what people believe in and place value in collectively. And a previous Fed chair at one of the branches wrote, money is memory. And, you know, the people on the island of Yap, referenced in a couple different books, used giant, like, 10,000-pound stones as stores of value, and the stones never even moved. Like, they might be sitting in one spot, and then it's just ownership would transfer like a car title or a property title, and the point was, it's somewhere, it's a physical, like, representation, it's some kind of physical icon for this abstraction again. And I mean, it just shows, I mean, gold can comfort our primate minds, and, you know, the long track record, and it's shiny and we can use it, and the argument for, I mean, it can be made with production purposes into jewelry or electronics, and it has some demand. But I mean, it's really no different from any other type of currency we've invented as a species. But some of the comments Schiff makes in these particular videos are in line with what I think a lot of it. And I think too, I mean, as I said, politicians never really have control. It's always just economics and the global tide. And I mean, any single person or group of people that claim they understand how everything works and they can make a policy, I mean, it might make us feel better to think that the guys in suits running the show know what's going on, but I mean, everything as simple as, in one other book, the guy uses the example of, like, who knows how to make a pencil? Like, no individual person could make a pencil. It's like, you've got forestry, you've got paint, you've got the development of paint, you've got mining if the top is, like, clipped to the eraser with the little aluminum bracket. You've got the eraser, you've got the graphite, you've got the processing. Like, no single person can even make something as simple as a frickin' pencil. I mean, global forces and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or more, individual actors are making dynamic choices every second to result in, like, the little innocuous pencil you just pick up and don't even think about and buy for pennies at a store. Like, I honestly think it would be a good focused discussion that's probably out there on how, like, presidents and politicians, I mean, they're always at the mercy of global finance. They're reactionary, and I mean, basically, if you're in the right spot at the right time, you get to reap like unintended rewards. And Schiff does mention Reagan and mentions interest rates, but I mean, that's always just sloughed over. I mean, Volcker had to raise those rates like mad, and again, I mention again, Reagan gets the credit and not the anguish of those actions done by the banker. But Schiff does mention that, I mean, now we can't raise rates on trillions of dollars of debt this time around. And, you know, again, it's like they can be in the right spot at the right time for a politician. What we are capable of, I think, is making things worse. Like policies can definitely hinder the natural flow of things because we just don't like how they're going. And I mean, that's too bad, but I mean, I think that's just a reality of what the condition is. And elections in tight financial times are like yelling at the leader when the tide goes out, and then like rejoicing when it comes back in and crediting that leader, and then like firing him again when it goes out again. But like, I don't think people can really control what happens with like global finance. And I mean, thinking with, going back to the Schiff videos, I mean, he doesn't really mention, but I mean, he's talking about the debt. But I mean, like, what if there's another natural disaster, like an earthquake or another Katrina or something? And I mean, our states are already getting kind of strapped. And I mean, like, look at Puerto Rico, what's going to happen with that? I don't know, whatever. But economists can compare systems to mountaineers, like, strung together and like climbing up the mountain. Like, if one goes down, the others can kind of hold it up. But if like 2 or 3 or a couple of these big dominoes start falling, like the whole chain can go down. And thinking of going down, like right now where Ethereum's at, again, it's like 260 or something. I don't know where it is exactly, something like that right now. But I mean, Ethereum didn't crash. I mean, that sounds like a good tagline, but didn't do anything. I mean, it's true all cryptos need a greater depth of market. I mean, that's why with the dollars, like the quantitative easings worked, because I mean, it's a global, like truly global, like trillions of dollars can go in and out. It's a very liquid market. Because I mean, like people in India and Brazil and like wherever, it's like they want USD because again, that's traditionally been something we as a species have collectively put value on. But like to think with the Ethereum little flash crash, it's like, one, it didn't crash, that was on one exchange. I mean, if every exchange in the world for Ethereum had gone to like 10 cents per ether for a couple minutes, it's like, that would be a crash. One tiny minuscule little exchange when you think global scale. I mean, if you think in reality, I mean, like 1 billionaire, if they just wanted to be an anarchist for a day and blow their money, I mean, it's like, that could mess with a lot of markets. It's like, think if a billionaire had $1 billion worth of silver and just sold it all at once. It's like, what do you think would happen? I mean, that happened with silver a couple months ago, where it's pretty low right now anyway. But I mean, there was some big dumping of the paper contracts of the rights to own silver or something, and it did. It dropped the price of silver like a couple dollars an ounce. It's like, think if a billionaire did that. It's like, if you want to point out, like, one really rich guy dumped all his holdings, and it's like, you know, if you're ready to wreck the world you're king of for a day just to wreck a market to say you can, it's like, that could happen a lot of different places. And, you know, this is exactly why, I mean, we need to spread the word and get a lot more people involved that will make it more resistant to major dumps or something. But again, the GDAX is only one exchange in a relatively small market. I mean, yeah, it's tiny. And again, as far as, you know, it crashed, it's like, what do you mean it crashed? It's still over like $250 to get one of them. How is that a crash? It's like, what does that mean for the strength of a dollar or something? It's like, it crashed. It went from 380 to like 250. It's like, what does that 380 and 250 mean? Like 1/380th of like the price would be $1 we talk about in terms of, I mean, depends how you want to look at it. I mean, I just point that out for, I mean, everything gets kind of absurd if you look at it under a certain light. And, you know, I mean, it could go even lower. I mean, it's kind of hovering right now. I mean, it's hard to tell with these. It's like when they're stable for a while, I mean, that means it could blast up or it could tank down yet. I don't really know. I don't really care. I mean, I wish they were more stable. I mean, that would get a virtuous cycle of more money coming in, more confidence in it. But that's not the nature of the game with just about anything yet. And, I mean, all these cryptos, I mean, they're still babies yet. It's like Ethereum, like, hasn't even been born. It's still, like, in its own little development, like, intranet. Like, it's not even fully public. Like, Bitcoin is. Like, Bitcoin's on the global internet, but, like, Ethereum, like, hasn't even, like, made that branch out yet. It's, like, in a developmental stage, and it's getting a lot more development and dApps going on with it. But it's like they haven't quite bridged into the world yet. And, like, I think that's going to be huge. And then I think I mentioned, I mean, like, South Korea, I mean, when it was buying a lot, it's like, that's just one little pocket of intensity. It's like, think if, again, if there's broader adoption, I mean, the potential for all of them in general is just insane. And talking about bubbles with crypto, which I've mentioned before, but I mean, in the short run, yeah, but in the long run, I don't think it's even moving yet. It's like this is a brand new field that it's like you see it go from like $50 to like $250, and you think that's insane. It needs to like come plummeting down. It's like not necessarily. It's like, I mean, it could go way up with any of these yet. I mean, again, with Bitcoin, like in an earlier video, it's like I thought it was going to get usurped earlier. I mean, that was kind of way premature for me to even say, but I did say in there, it's like, unless it gets an ETF or something, and then Japan made it legal currency. And yeah, then it blasted out. I mean, the potential for all of these, if they get more recognition, is insane. It's like, whether it went to 380 and it's correcting down, it's like, I don't care. I mean, if Ethereum goes even lower, it's like, fine. That's fine with me, because in the long term, like, I don't really play the day trading game, and I don't sell it. I hold on to it. Again, if there were more options to use it and get it circulating, I would love that. But, I mean, I don't think it's going to implode, and I definitely don't think it's going away. And then as far as a crash, too, I mean, again, think if faith were lost in the dollar, I mean, think what global markets would look like. Man, and again, I'll mention, I've said before, I think it's funny, people in the same breath of saying, it's like, look at these unstable cryptos and look at the bubble, like at the same, then they go on to say, and the stock market's at an all-time high again today. It's like, well, again, I already said in this video, I mean, economists saying the economy's getting frothy. It's like, look at something like 2008 or the Great Depression or something. It's like crypto goes down and it fluctuates like 10-20%. I mean, if there's an actual anything negative in the stock market, I mean, to the tune of like the Great Depression, where like 80% of wealth that was just realized was created, just like vanished. I mean, it's like, again, everything, it depends how you think on it, in what light you look at it, but I mean, they're abstractions and things can go poof no matter where it is, and if you think you're really safe with anything, it's like, it just depends on the spirit of the moment and like who's panicking where, really. With the Ethereum unloading too, I mean, I kind of shake my head, like, I wouldn't have done that, but I mean, that person spent it out and then got devoured by others, and it's like, I was one of those people that threw a couple bucks at it when it was down, like, I mean, it was still going down, but a couple bucks at 309. Then I did get lucky, some at like 240. I don't know, maybe it'll go lower again. If it does, I'm not really concerned. But if it goes up, great. If it goes down, even better. I mean, what do you do when you win? Party. What do you do when you lose? Party harder. I mean, next paycheck, I'll try and buy some more. It's like, I don't care about this nonsense. And for the poor people with the stop losses, I mean, whatever, again, I've said that's not how I play the game. If you got destroyed on margin and like lost all your goods, I mean, I and many others have routinely said, I mean, if you're in it to speculate and profit and set up little financial switches all over, I mean, be prepared to get burned. I mean, like, day trading is not safe. I mean, some guys can make videos, be like, I'm making good money, this is how I play it. It's like, yeah, maybe some people get lucky, but that's, I mean, just like in the stock market or something like a black swan, it's like, yeah, for every, like, Warren Buffett out there, it's like, there's 100,000 little people trying to play the same game, and it's like, you're just going to get burned. I mean, just buy it, try to avoid watching it so you don't give yourself an ulcer or something, and then just, like, blast it to a hardware wallet and forget about it. It's like, I could care less if an exchange has a glitch. Like, maybe people will panic and, like, then Ethereum goes on sale. Like, I think it was Warren Buffett who said that it's only with the stock market that everybody panics and stampedes away when everything goes on sale. I mean, it's like, sure, bring it down to 250 again, bring it lower. It's like, I'll actually be able to buy more than the tiny fragments I can afford now. And in general, I mean, like, the hype and the reactionary results and just the general reaction is dumb. It's like every time with cryptos, it's like something starts going up, people start like whipping themselves into a frenzy and it's moon talk. It's like, yeah, and then like it turns around, it's like the sky is falling. I mean, it's like watching daily entertainment like world news or something. It's like, yeah, it's exciting, and I mean, for some people, I'm sure the little crash sucked as much as it was awesome for some lucky bastards. But, I mean, I think the significance is minimal. It's like, again, if you want to interpret it as like panic, sell, dumb. I mean, that's dumb. It's just one more time to panic and let other people buy up the ether you'll regret selling, like, even in like 2 weeks. It's like, don't do that. It's like, when I see it start going down, it's like, I start drooling, not selling. I mean, amass it. I guess one positive, though, is, I mean, a lot more people were making videos. It's like, I think it's a plus, and I mean, you get more people chattering about it. It's like any publicity is good publicity, which makes me happy to know that there are more people out there, and I mean, the world's getting bigger. I mean, even with like Bitcoin, the crashes a couple of years ago, I mean, the world's a lot bigger than then. It's like now on YouTube, it's like after that little crash, I mean, there's a boatload of videos talking about that. And then I did see, maybe now it's like a week or two ago or whenever, but that CNBC video talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's like, I think that's awesome. It's like, I think I'm just seeing like good news and positive future all the time, no matter what's happening. With that, I think I'm going to tune out for now. Again, as always, thanks for watching. Next time.